I welcome all the participants present today. I welcome Professor Sunil Kanta Behera, who is a very senior most professor in the country. It's our 7th session of the FDP Faculty Development Program at the School of Mass Communication, KIIT University, Bhubaneswar, third day. Uh, it's a great honor to have professors like Professor Sunil Kanta Behera. Without much delay, I request my colleague, Dr. Anurag Sahu, to welcome and introduce Professor Behera, though Professor Behera doesn't need any introduction in such kind of platforms. It's just a formality. Yeah. Please, Dr. Sahu.
Thank you, Producer. First of all, Namaskar, sir. It is a matter of great pleasure and privilege for me to introduce the speaker of today's session, Professor Sunil Kanta Behera, who is at present working as Professor of Eminence in the Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Tezpur Central University, Assam, is the speaker of this first session of third day FTP organized by KIIT School of Mass Communication. Recently, we celebrated 100 years of journalism education in India, and in this long history of journalism education, Professor Behera has been adding value to it. Since last 4 decades, he has been working in the field of journalism education. For his immense contribution to this field, he is conferred with Lifetime Achievement Award and Best Media Educator Award in the year 2015 and 2018 respectively. He has been working hard in bringing qualitative change in the field of mass communication and journalism education. Till date, I have collected this data non-officially. I don't know whether it's correct or not. Till date, 35 PhD scholars have been produced under his able guidance, and they all are serving in various reputed cities, leading mass communication institutions and top-notch media houses. And also, it is pertinent to mention that most of the participants participated in this session are his products. And I'm fortunate enough that I have got an opportunity to work under his dynamic guidance as a PhD scholar. What I am now, where I am today, is only due to his blessings and guidance. Professor Behera had been awarded with PhD degree from Parampur University in the year 1998. And as part of his professional career, he has had hold various important academic and administrative positions. He was the professor and head of the department in the Department of Journalism, Mass Communication, Parampur University. He was the chairman of the Board of Studies of the same university, and he was the director of Hariyar Madras Distance Education Center. He had held the post of Professor of Eminence in the Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Tezpur Central University. He is the member in the editorial board of a number of mass communication journals. He is a subject expert for UPSC and UGC NET New Delhi. He acts as a member of selection committee for teachers in many universities and autonomous colleges. He has worked as an observer of Press Council of India for Odisha during the 12th and 13th Lok Sabha Assembly elections. Professor Behera has authored and edited a number of books and has contributed more than 150 research papers and articles in various journals. Moreover, he is the brightest star in the galaxy of mass communication education. Today, Sunil sir will deliver his talk on 20th century teaching and 21st century learning, pedagogically implications of face-to-face, digital, social, and mobile. Thank you so much, sir, for your concern. We can start the session right now.
Thank you, Anurag, and a very good afternoon to you all. First, let me thank Dr. Vidhusan for giving me this opportunity to interact with all my young friends in the academics, media, and communication. This will not only an opportunity to talk to you or interact, but it will be also a learning experience for me. Because the title, if we go about the pedagogy of education, how there is a shift in pedagogy of education, we say we are shifting from a traditional mold to a interactive mold, and I belong to the traditional mold of educators. So, but I have never left that inquisitiveness to learn from my young friends, be it my student, be it my colleague, be it anybody for that matter. So learning is lifelong for me. And at the title of this FDP, that exploring self and a new paradigm in education, very rightly, what is self? How do we understand ourselves? And a self, basically we define from birth to death. A self, that's about the life of an individual. And the whole life, we keep on exploring ourselves. We keep on exploring and understanding our qualities, our thinking, our relationships with others. We try to know ourselves basically. And whether it is Rousseau or Plato, they say that if you are able to explore yourself, automatically you will be exploring the whole world. When you are born, we are not aware of anything. During our middle stage of our life, we become conscious of ourselves. At the end of if you talk about Buddha's philosophy, at the end you become a conscientious self, leading to nirvana. Not many lead to nirvana, but we still live our lives. So exploring self means exploring our life. And this exploration is what all about education. Education is a lifelong learning, and education is associated learning. We do not have an identity by birth. We try to establish our identity as a self in relation to our family first. That is our first identity. Then we establish ourselves as a member of a group, a smaller group to which we belong to as we grow in age. Then we become a member of a smaller community. Our identity establishment keeps on going, and we become a member of the larger community and finally the human society. Self, when we talk, self is an individual person as the object of its own reflective consciousness. What is this reflective consciousness? Many people talk about the reflexive consciousness. It's all about the same, the reflective consciousness. The reflexive consciousness tells us about our experiences, our traits, our relationships, our social roles, our identities, environments, abilities, and beliefs. These are all the smaller order self aspects. Smaller order, I say. Experience is our smaller order self aspect. When I talk about my ability, it's also a smaller order of self. But education, when we educate ourselves, in the process, what we do, we try to transform our smaller order aspects into higher order domains or self domains. There we become counted as a contributing member of the society. Smaller order self-aspects to higher order self-domains. Aspects to domains. That is the kind of growth, that the kind of exploration happens and the transformation happens. I will quote here Albert Einstein. What Albert Einstein has said, that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. It's not simply learning. Education is not rote learning. Education is not knowing about the world. Education is not seeing the world and understand. No, we will have to train the minds to think. That is the higher order domain of education. And if you have read Rousseau, Rousseau also once here said that plants are shaped by cultivation and men by education. We are born weak, we need strength. We are born totally unprovided, we need aid. We are born stupid, we need judgment. Everything we do not have at our birth and which we do need when we are grown is given to us by education. So education is sacrosanct for us. And education does not or need not necessarily come from an educational premise. Education is not limited to classroom. If you look at the social constructivist theory, the meaning making of the world is education. It tells us to derive meaning from everything. That is education. It helps us to think about our environment, ourselves, whatever that comes across, whatever that we use, we have to derive meaning from it. And the meaning is utilitarian in nature. Meaning, simply understanding the meaning is not education. When you understand the meaning and you make it utilitarian in nature, then you are educated. Similarly, I will also say, John Dewey, you must be aware, he once said, education is not preparation for life, education is life in itself. So the whole life is education. What is that? So explore. Our exploration never ends. Our exploration starts with our death, with our birth, and ends with our death. Now, today's topic and my topic specifically, I'll be dealing with 20th century teaching to 21st century learning. 20th century teaching to 21st century learning. And these are the true reflections of myself as a teacher, of myself as a learner. What are the experiences I have as a teacher? What are the experiences I have as a learner? What are the experiences I am now having as a teacher-learner? Now, 21st century, that is the major achievement. Now, I have become a learner in my classroom. I have become a teacher on the streets. My students have become teachers online. Honestly speaking, when this pandemic came, I was not very much aware of the use of this technological means of communication, of these online learning platforms. Fortunately for me here, I had some of my colleagues and some of my students also, who have helped me learn the art of teaching online, who have helped me understanding and learning about the technology that we talk today, much more about technology-driven learning. Technology-driven, not technology-driven teaching, but technology-driven learning. That's how I have learned myself. Now, as we move to 21st century, basically we talk more in terms of the need and efficacy for a pedagogical transition from the teacher-centered learning to teacher-centered teaching to student-centered learning. I will use two words. From a traditional teacher-centered teaching to a progressive student-centered learning. From a traditional and progressive. tradition is ageless. Tradition, if we talk about the tradition of Indian education system, we will have to go back to the Nanda days, we will have to go back to the Ujjain University, Nalanda, Takshashila, the Gurukul system of education. Even we have to go back still long earlier, Aristotle, Socrates. That was the traditional mode of education, and that was one-to-one. That was tutoring, mentoring, basically. Education, what we experience today was not that. I will come to those transitions, those paradigms of education later, but I will very briefly talk about the transition from the teacher-centered teaching to the student-centered learning. In recent times, the student-centered pedagogy has provided serious challenges to the teacher-centered teaching. And particularly in time of pandemic, we don't have a choice, but we have to move on to an online pedagogy where, again, students have a role to play. And technology has helped us in having and moving out from the constraints of time, space, the classroom. No longer the classroom is the space. No longer we will have to stick to 10 to 5 class hours. We can teach and learn anytime, any place, anywhere. So the constraints of place, time, and cost also, we have moved out of that. Now, advocates of student-centered pedagogy generally proceed from the constructivist paradigm that maintains that learners construct their understanding through their actions and experience of the world. It's not what we teach them. They derive their existential meaning, they derive their collaborative meanings of the world through their experiences and actions of which we are a part. Now, their collaborative learning is not centered on the teacher. Their collaborative learning is centered on their peers, is centered on their online sources, is centered on also the teacher, of which we are a smaller part. Now, from here, the student-centered thinking has spawned a burgeoning interest in the use of a variety of different active learning methods in and out of the classroom. One is collaborative learning, second is experiential learning, third is problem-based learning, and a variety of other pedagogical methods. Now, what is collaborative learning? Collaborative learning basically is a learning among the peers. Basically, a learning today, the technology has made it possible to even collaborate with a student there in Stanford University. Technology has made it possible to collaborate with your teachers, with other researchers, with other learners of your subject, and start understanding the concept and theories, even the other interdisciplinarities of your subject. Similarly, collaborative experiential learning. That is one of the, when we talk about self-experience, it's always self. Experience is never associational. What you are experiencing, that remains within you. That becomes experiential knowledge, which helps you in further understanding your surrounding, in further understanding the world in future. Then you have problem-based learning. Problem-based, you think of a problem, think of the COVID-19 situation, take it as a case, and start learning about how to deal with the situation, how to solve this economic problem, how to solve the social stigmatization of the COVID-19 COVID-19 that is happening in the world, means these are all known as social learnings. These are all known as social learnings. Means we derive our learning through our collaboration, through our experiences, and through our society. Now, when we talk about traditional teacher-centered learning, there are the basic characteristics. These are all the things which you will know. But nevertheless, it has to be refreshed. The one is, the teacher is the dominant leader who establishes and enforces rules in the classroom. You go back to, you might not have experienced, but when I go back to my childhood education times, the teacher was the supreme leader. Whatever the teacher says is that is knowledge for us. We never been able, never can think of questioning the accuracy, think of the authenticity of the information that was given to us. Whatever the teacher picked, that was knowledge for us. Second, structures learning task and establishes the time and method of task completion. Means whatever tasks the teacher was giving, they have to be structured, the time was set by the teacher, and the mode of completing the task was also set by the teacher. There is an underlying fact which I will tell after I say. Third is the teacher always states, explains, and models the lesson objectives and actively maintains student on task involvement. Means everything is under the control of the teacher. There was basically no independent thinking, no independent action by the student, no independent learning by the student even. Right? Now, when it comes, we talk more in terms of student-centered, but it also has its own problems. But what are the features of student-centered learning? Here, in contrast, the learner-centered education is based upon the idea of an active learner. In teacher-centered, the student was passive, but in a learner-centered education pedagogy, the student is always active. He is an active learner. Teachers here act as catalysts or guide to students who establish and enforce their own rules. The teachers don't frame the rules. The students frame the rules for the learning schedule, the pedagogical structure, the time, all these things are and here teachers respond to the student work through neutral feedback. That's one of the most important, neutral feedback. What is neutral feedback? And neutral feedback is needed because with that you will encourage students to provide alternative or additional responses. Means no question has only one answer. The questions need to be analytical, the answers need to be, it cannot be prescriptive, rather they will have to be multiple interpretations of the answer to a particular question. And that choice is left with the student to think alternatively and to interpret the knowledge in a different context. Multiple contexts that need to be. And teacher asks mostly divergent questions. Now again, in the student-centered teaching, I have experienced that we are all giving assignments, but we are giving the same assignment to all the students. That limits the creativity. Think about a teacher who gives 40 assignments on the same topic, on the same subject to 40 students. Now, after these 40 assignments have been done by 40 students, if you discuss all these 40 assignments, then there will be generation of new knowledge. New methods would be found by students. New thinking will be there. Instead of giving, because that will be more time consuming for the teacher to think about 40 assignments for 40 students. That will be difficult, but that will engage the student That will help the students think beyond. That is lateral thinking. When each assignment is different, then the students, when they meet, they will try to discuss. They will try to brainstorming, what we say. The brainstorming will start, and that is helpful in the generation of new knowledge, new methods, new ways of thinking. That's what it's needed. Then next, here, students are encouraged to summarize and review important lesson objectives. You see, if you have seen our curriculum today, what we have said, we have program objectives, we have course objectives, program specific objectives, then we have also learning outcomes at the end of each paper. Now, learning outcomes, again, for a subject like ours, we have skill-based learning outcomes, we have knowledge learning outcomes, we have research learning outcomes. Skills, right? Whatever, whether writing skills or speaking skills or production skills or your visual skills, whatever skills that we teach that are needed for the media industry, we are teaching them. Means they will be able to produce programs, they will be able to write a script, they will be able to write art news, they will be able to write features, they will be able to write a drama, radio drama, script of the radio drama. All this. Then technological skills. The technological skills here again, there is a problem here. We are helping our students to operate camera. We are helping our students how to shoot a film, how to edit a film. But most of the time, they are learning this art of producing and shooting and editing as a technocrat. But never they learn the aesthetics of this art. The aesthetics are missing. They are learning the techniques simply to produce a program, simply to write a story, but they lack the understanding of different perspectives, the aesthetics involved in these things. That is needed. A teacher has also to tell them, not simply looking at the potential employment possibilities of our students, but they have to understand these aesthetics also. That's very important. Because they connect to the society, they connect to the system, they connect to our thinking process. That is very important. Then students are encouraged here to choose new activities in this session and select different topics for study. We must have seen the NAAC guidelines, we must have seen the UGC norms. There is a concept called differential learning, differential teaching. Why it is needed? A class consists of about 40 to 50 students. Each student, the whole group, they have differential abilities. They have differential learning scopes. Each student cannot learn in the same pace. Each student cannot understand the theory, understand the teachings in the same perspective. Because some are advanced, some are slow learners. Now, what is needed when we talk about differential learning, differential teaching, it is customized teaching and learning that is important. Means every teacher needs to give some time to every student according to their preferences, according to their abilities. We will have to derive our teaching plans. We will have to derive our even evaluation plans. We will have to talk about, I have already talked about the assignment, the multiplicity of assignments. Similarly, even if you go to the foreign countries, not the same question paper is also not there at the end, the answer, depending on the ability of the student, depending on the interest of the students. The question papers also are different. The time, there is no time for an answer. at their own convenience, they should be allowed within a specific period, maybe 45 days or 50 days, they will have to complete their entire. We'll have that much of flexibility we need in our education system. We say that we must make it learner-centered, but we will have the strict rules imposed on us by the UGC, by the university. How do we do that? In a semester, so much of learning has to be done. I'm not talking in terms of teaching. 90 days we have. 90 days, if you look at some of the curriculum, some of the syllabus of some of the universities and colleges, you will find we need at least 1 year to complete those things. If you are really into teaching and learning, then that will take about 12 months time. And we are trying to finish it with 3 months. Forget about the online system. I will not talk much about that. Because as a teacher, if you ask me, learning is only about 10% in online learning. Online, this education, this has given to us no seminars, but hundreds and hundreds of webinars. I'm sorry, I will not talk much about the webinars, but it has its own advantages, but nevertheless, the learning is not to the extent that it happens in an offline system. Now, with the student-centered learning, there are major problems also. What I have said, certainly technology has made this very easy. You need not have to go to school, you need not have to go to college or university. You can learn being at your home. Now the reality, what is the reality? In home, there are parents who are guiding. A student, imagine a student of 7 years, 6 years, listening to the videos and watching the videos and comprehending all those things. It's not possible. The attention span, look at the age of the child, how much of attention he can or she can have to looking at a small mobile monitor. And even in from my experience, I can tell you, in the last semester, I must have taken about, though I was very poor in technology, but I could take about 32 live sessions with my students teaching communication theory. But I was thoroughly disappointed with my teaching and their learning. Well, every time I saw their icons will be there, and when I asked them, some icons will be there, some will be, videos will be on, and they will be somewhere, they will not be listening properly. And whenever the time of exam comes, then they go through those recorded videos, and then they try to, and again keep calling right at 10, 11 in the night, sir, I am not able to learn that. That keeps on. But they never learn. They are managing the exams. Learning is only 10%. That is the system what I oppose to. Now, nothing wrong with technology. We have to accept the technology. But what some of the scholars, and even I agree with that, besides the student-centered learning, we will have to move one step ahead. What is that? That they say is the guided learning is in a form of guided participation. Learning will be participatory. Learning will be participatory, but it will be, I will just show you a Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You see, there are two axes. The horizontal axis is about the teacher's participation, and the vertical axis is about the students and their involvement, the student individual. And when we talk about collaborative learning, he tries and goes imbibing himself and acclimatizing himself or herself into the society slowly. Here in the two quadrants below, where I have written here, see, this is the teacher. This is non-directional, means less involvement of teacher, directional, more involvement of teachers. Here individual, and here he is learning as an individual. As he progresses to the social, he starts making meanings, or what he reaches is the social constructivist learning. He becomes a part of the social constructivist learning. Now here if you see, tutoring is very, very important. Tutoring means the involvement of the teacher, guided participation, tutoring. Here tutoring means individual looking at the individual interests and abilities of every student. Tutoring, it is not teaching, tutoring. So that leads to, but nevertheless, there is an old method, that is lecture and test method of the teacher-centric method, but non-directional. Here independent learning comes and open-ended collaborative learnings without the much involvement of the teacher, only guided participation, but not much involvement. That is self-directed learning. This quadrant talks about the self-directed learning, where it is collaboration, independent learning, but mentored by the teacher. And but what are more important are the two quadrants here on the top side. Here, if you look at this right-hand quadrant, top quadrant, that is group learning, group drill, group chant, but this is being directed by the teacher. This is being helped or facilitated by the teacher. That's why the teaching or learning is structured, but collaborative, cooperative, problem-based learning, because there is more involvement, more collaboration toward the society. Society means peer learning again becomes a part of it. That is directed learning in groups. Groups means peer learning. And here open-ended learning in groups, participant learning. What we are talking of participant learning, and here the involvement of the teacher is less, but they are becoming collaborative, they are becoming cooperative, problem-based learning, and open-ended learning is there. Means open-ended means it is open for interpretation. No knowledge is static. No knowledge is static, and every theory is open for interpretation. What we want is an inquiry-based teaching learning. You will have to promote the style of question. You will have to prepare the students in such a manner that they will develop a questioning mind to everything that you teach, to everything that you say. They should question. And learning begins with a question today. Sorry. So, this particular model talks about learning as a guided participation. Neither teacher-centric learning is good, nor even student-centered learning, but the student, the teacher may not be a teacher as a very dominant person, but the teacher has to be a facilitator, which many of my young colleagues who are present here are doing today. We are open to that. We are open to this form of learning, collaborative learning, independent learning, and participant learning. And in the process, a student also becomes a teacher in the process there, in the classroom. We talk more in terms of student-led classrooms. Student-led classrooms where they also role reversal is happening. Every week, here is we practice a thing. A student has to teach a particular subject. He comes prepared, and then all the teachers were there, would be there, and looking at his how he performs as a teacher, how he prepares himself, how he understands whether he has multiple sources from where he has learned the concepts, learned the theories or not, whether he is able to relate these theories to the contemporary problems and problem solving theory as a knowledge as problem solving technique. All these things we see. So this gives them the confidence of, this gives them more active in the process of teaching learning. That is very important. And here what we talk, I will go to when I come to the paradigms of education. The paradigms of education, basically, I have tried to visualize, there are three paradigms of education till now. One, when we go back to the Gurukul system, that is the first paradigm of education, where it was mostly teaching was tutoring. And in those days, India, if you remember, India was very, very a prominent place of higher learning. India was home to the formulation of zero. Brahmagupta formulated zero. And then Aryabhatta started giving the rules of how to use zero in a decimal system. Ayurveda. India was the originating country of Ayurveda. Think about yoga. Why I'm saying this, in those days of one-to-one learning in the Gurukul system, India turned out to be a leader in higher education. India was land to the development of four religions, the Hinduism, the Jainism, the Buddhism, and Sikhism. Now, means the purpose of saying all these things is that education-wise, if we consider that not even a single university is in the top 100 of the world, why? India, at one point of time, people were coming to study in Takshashila, people from all over the world coming to study in Nalanda. But today, there is a reversal. There is a reverse migration of students from India to other countries. That is the reality of the 21st century. Definitely we have progressed, but maybe we have not progressed enough. We have not contextualized ourselves to the changing requirements of higher education. Why the Indian students, when they are studying here, are not performing well, but when they go outside, they win laurels, and we say that, yes, he was an Indian-born scientist who has got, and we take pride in that fact. But nevertheless, coming back to the paradigms, I will tell you, the this third paradigm is technological-driven paradigm. The technology, whether in terms of internet, whether in terms of mobile, whether in terms of all the digital technology, has brought in a revolution in every field, whether be it in terms of business, be it in education, be it health sector, every sector, be it governance. Technology has brought in changes in almost all the sectors of our living. Broadly speaking, technology exerts at least four main influences on education. Four major influences on education. One, it transforms the methods of teaching and learning. It transforms the methods of teaching and learning. Two, it reshapes the content of what is taught and learned. The content also has undergone changes. Third, it transforms educational institutions, structures, and also costs. And fourth, it redefines the relationships between and among students, institutions, and teachers. This is a new relationship that has been established among students, teachers, and also the educational institutions. Because why I have used educational institutions? Because more and more private institutions are coming to the field of higher education, and they are doing much better in terms of certain sick public institutions of higher learning. And early digital developments had an evolutionary influence on any one or two of these four. But when we talk about a paradigm shift, it requires changes in all four. If you thought about Thomas Kuhn,
Has sir lost his connection?
Sir has lost his connection. He'll
Yeah, yeah.
back in a moment.
Let me
Yes, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself. You're muted, sir.
Sir, you are muted. Sir, muted ଅଛନ୍ତି sir, unmute କରନ୍ତୁ.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Until now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. The first paradigm of education, what I was talking, existed thousands of years ago and operated at an age of pre-media technology. No technology was there. It was oral education particularly, one-to-one. It was oral, nothing else. And it was a form of one-to-one tutoring or mentoring. Mentoring is highly effective in from a learning perspective. You remember, mentoring at one-to-one level rather than tutoring at a group level, mentoring is very, very effective in terms of learning outcomes, in terms of learning. And from the time of Aristotle, before the advent of technology, great teachers mentored their pupils using primarily oral communication. Oral communication. Even today, if you have gone through the study, at one point of time, Indian Institute of Mass Communication did a study. We are all involved in communication right from the time we get up till we go to sleep. We have all the mass media and digital media today. But the study said that what is the time that we are engaged in interpersonal or oral communication? The study said 77% of our time every day we are engaged in oral communication. All this digital media, all this mass media, what we are talking, only 15% to 16% of time we are engaged with the digital media or mass media. Of course, for youngsters, for the youth, engagement with the Facebook, with the WhatsApp, with the chatting, all these things are there. But in general, we are mostly engaged in oral communication. So that's so important. Where in teaching and learning, unless there is oral connectivity with the teacher and the students, teaching learning will suffer. Second paradigm is at the advent of the analog media technology, means the printing technology. The second paradigm came with the printed book in the Middle Ages. It is a model of learning based on one-to-many communication. One-to-many communication. Put it in simplest forms, it can be said as the broadcasting model of education. Broadcasting model without the use of the broadcasting technology means classroom teaching. You are teaching a single teacher teaching about 60, 70, 120 students in a college. It's a broadcasting model of education that happened in the second paradigm of education. Now, second paradigm helped us a bit, and reading became a very, very important activity in terms of learning. Reading texts, discussing books. Reading books has become very, very important activity. And but unfortunately today, if I ask any of my students how many books you have studied, how many books you have read, name one book in say advertising, they will be failing to name even one book. Reading has become almost nil, which is a very sad state of affairs. Reading. So I'll come to that. Now coming to the third paradigm of education. It is defined by interconnectedness among students and teachers and features many-to-many communication. Interconnectedness all the time, because you are connected through mobiles, you are connected through WhatsApp, you are connected through other modes of learning, through multi-directional mentorship. Now here mentorship, you must have realized, we are not mentoring them academically. We are also mentoring them for in their other issues, in their health issues, in their mental issues. Mentoring is not limited today to only academics, but also to their mental health and others, or economic, everything, the social problems they face. A teacher need not be a teacher for teaching, but he or she need to be a counselor to, or mentor-mentee relationship, the counselor role a teacher has to play today. And the paradigm represents the decline of hierarchy in learning. Nobody is higher in the system of learning. Today, if you teach something in a class, and if you are not prepared well, if you have not updated your knowledge, then a student will ask you a question, because they refer multiple sources and they come prepared to the class. That's a very good sign in this third paradigm of education. And the arrival of the third educational paradigm does not spell the end of the second or the first paradigm, the end of the previous paradigm. The rise of the second paradigm, I will say, did not spell the end of the first paradigm, but it did generally push it to the side, despite the substantial superiority of tutoring. Tutoring was superior, but as the number of learners grew, as when the government started the right to education, now we will have to increase our gross enrollment ratio. We can no longer have sufficient gurukuls where we can focus on tutoring. Now, mass tutoring, mass learning. That is the reason why we cannot, the first paradigm of education had to go. Second paradigm of education has already gone, because books have become outdated source of knowledge for the students. Today, everything is at their fingertips, only the internet. If you ask a researcher, if you ask a student in their dissertation, you will not find a book as a resource, a reference material, but only the websites, only the sources, the internet sources you will find. That's the kind of learning, that's the kind of system that has developed over the years. Of course, We talk more in terms of MOOCs courses. MOOCs courses, naturally, they can supplement our knowledge. That these online courses, MOOCs courses, cannot replace our university teaching learning setup. They can supplement our higher education to a larger extent. If you look at the Coursera courses, the courses offered by Coursera, the courses offered by Stanford and other reputed university of the world, we are upgrading our skills, we are upgrading our knowledge. The same course you will find, some of the teachers will be there, some of the students will be there. So a teacher-student distinction is no longer, we are all co-learners in today's parlance. Now,
Sir, extremely sorry to interrupt, sir. But
yes.
we would also like to have a question answer session with you.
Yeah, I will just
So if you could,
end within 5 minutes. Okay.
sir.
Now,
Others
5 minutes,
can
not even
also.
5 minutes, I will talk about 2 minutes. Now, I was talking more in terms of technological uses in education, teaching, learning, technology-driven learning, teaching. Now, you must have heard about the technological determinism or technological solutionism. Technology can facilitate learning, but technology cannot be a solution to our teaching learning, cannot be a solution, cannot determine our learning abilities. Technology is only a facilitator. Technology can only be an enabler, but technology cannot even enhance our knowledge base. It can at best facilitate. Now, if somebody asks me that internet gives you everything, but internet, we only upload things in the internet. Wikipedia, whatever you say. We are uploading it. People are uploading nothing. The internet, the computer never creates knowledge. Whatever that is uploaded, structures it. We, with the use of course, with the use of artificial intelligence, with the use of augmented reality, we are making it more contextualized. We are making it more meaningful. But we must not fall into the trap of technological determinism and technological solutionism. Technology can never overpower the human resource base involved in teaching learning. Technology can only be an enabler of the teaching learning process. And technology, no matter how advanced, does not guarantee better education. Can technology guarantee better education? No. And nor is it necessarily a pathway to solving any societal problems. Technology cannot solve any of our problems, societal problems or economic problems. Yet the promise of an engaged community of lifelong learners is within sight. To turn this vision into a reality will require the collective effort of a new generation of educational pioneers, which is already happening, guided by ethics. Ethics. I will not go into that, how much of ethics are there in everything that we do or not do, and a critical lens and the courage to exchange the 20th century teaching with the 21st century learning. So that's what. Now, there is no exchange, but there is transition. 20th century teaching, we can say that the students need to be given a higher participation in the process of teaching learning. I agree. But at the same time, what I will say, in our pedagogy, we must introduce again reading sessions as a very, very important methodology. Reading sessions must be included. Secondly, writing skills, writing in the class itself, writing not on the computer, writing skills, that's again very important. Whether you join a newspaper, whether you join a radio or television, doesn't matter. Writing, 1 minute, what we say, a term that is 1 minute free writing. 1 minute free writing. In a classroom, give them a topic. Give them a topic and ask them to write 100 words. Every day, if you give them, they will generate new ideas. How do I make it different from my other co-learners? That writing ability will develop. No longer every time you ask a student to write, they say that, sir, can we send it in a computer typing form? No, writing has become very, very poor. Unless you read, you cannot also write. See, reading helps you in highlighting your comprehensive capabilities. You can understand, you can comprehend things. And writing, it helps you in conceptualizing your understandings, in conceptualizing and memorizing your understanding. And then finally, another method I will not say. I have said reading as a method of learning and teaching, writing as a method of learning and teaching. Third, I say small research. Research can also be a very, very important method of teaching and learning. We do not wait for a dissertation at the end of the course semester. We should not wait for the PhD should only be a final submission of thesis. No. At the end of every semester, one must submit a smaller portion, a smaller project, where stepwise, a stage-wise learning will happen. So small, when a student is doing a MA course, send him to a street to interview 2 persons and get an interview story. Small things, small research. And these will be the most, from my experience, I am saying, these are the things. No doubt we are into the 21st century learning, where student-centered learning and technological driven learning. That is very nice, very good thing that we, during this pandemic, we have succeeded in at least continuing the education without thinking about consequences. But the reading, writing, and the small research projects need to be a part of the strategies of teaching learning, the methods of teaching learning. Thank you very much, my friends, for being patient to this blabbering by me. And now, questions, Ruby.
Thank you, sir. Since we have next talk at 5:15, we'll take a few questions.
Okay.
So the first question is already there in the chat box. Smita Swini, she says, she's asking that, is online mode of teaching effective than online mode in mass communication? So I think, sir, what is your take on that?
Yes, sir, please explain. It can possible.
Online mode teaching is effective than offline mode in the field of content.
I think sir's whole talk was about
the theme was based
the answer. The whole talk was the answer to the question, actually, that how can it be effective. Sir, would you like to say a few words on this?
Again, there is some issue.
Sir is having some network.
I think in the winding up part, he has already explained that technology is not the substitute for the physical classroom, or you can say not the substitute for direct teaching. So I don't think even in last 1.5 years, we all are engaged in online teaching, and we all know how effective it is.
Yes.
And how students have got responded to us, and what kind of result they have got.
Sir is here. Sir, you are muted. Sir, unmute karantu.
I think there was a connection issue. No?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, many of my young colleagues may not agree with me, but from my experience, I can say online learning in mass communication and journalism will have very limited learning outcomes, because it is like, can we teach medicine online?
No, sir.
Now, without, you see, all these 2 semesters, the students who joined in 2020, they haven't visited the department. They haven't seen a camera. The students, you don't forget about the students who are there in urban centers. Now, if you go to Chandigarh University, where Professor Nahak is there, it's a rich university. Every facility is there. They have a very good setup, you know. But think about the people, think about the largest category of students, those who are studying in rural university. I am not even referring to KIIT. A rural university, go beyond Bhubaneswar. Go beyond your capital cities. In state universities, we do not have the facilities even. So, offline teaching, particularly in mass communication, is necessary because 40% of our curriculum is practical based. Unless, because that is the major problem. Ours is a skill-driven curriculum. Skill-driven curriculum. Skills cannot be taught online. And here, skills, writing skills, they can send you and you can correct it, you can send it. But what about the production skills? Can we teach television production theoretically online? Can we teach how to produce a radio program online without seeing the camera, showing the camera? People say that YouTube is my teacher. Many students, what they do, they see YouTube videos and try to learn. But do you believe, as a teacher, that learning is enough? Because we are in a skill-driven. If you look at our component, we have 3 components. One is skill component, another is a knowledge component, another which gives you, what are the 3 components of our skill-driven, knowledge-driven, and research-driven component skills, research skills. So here skills cannot be taught. The theory can be taught online, but skills certainly cannot be taught.
Sir, I have a question. Can I ask?
Sure, sir.
Yeah,
Please, last
that can be the
question.
last question.
Last
Yes,
question.
and then I would request.
Please allow me to
my-
ask the last question.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sure, please.
Sir, we
Professor
were
Manisa
discussing,
Pathak has already joined, so it's the last post.
we were discussing
Yes, sir.
about 40 assignments to 40 students, sir. And at the same time also we have discussed about customized learning.
Yeah.
So is it possible in our case for going to customized learning in the classroom?
Customized learning, you see, a teacher, you need being in the same class. You see, we are not based on the lecture method of teaching today. When you are teaching the skills in your laboratory, you can go to every student and you look at their problems where they are stuck, and you go around them and start telling them what is your problem, like that. Theory, again, where I said you can give 40 assignments to 40 students, why not? It is possible, I can tell you. It is possible. Certainly, you will have to take more time in thinking about 40 assignments. If you have 100 students, private universities, if the students are more, then it will be little difficult. There has to be a group of teachers who would be dealing with such things. One individual teacher might not be able to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much, sir.
Thank you, everybody, for your patient hearing. And I thank Vidhu for giving me this opportunity.
I would now request my colleague Soptik Garai to give the vote of thanks.
You see, Ruby.
Yes, sir.
Simply
Hello.
say thank you, sir, for your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
That is enough. Why?
Yes,
No,
sir.
I have to share few things, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree in many of your points, sir, what you delivered. And we are doing that. If I can share one of my chat box with what I did last night, that was part of, you can say, customized learning. One of my students published one web the blog piece shared with me. After reading that, I immediately gave 13 points by 12 or 1 o'clock midnight, and she responded, I think, up to 6 questions. Then she maybe went to bed, and she will respond to next series of questions. And it is possible, as sir mentioned, if the team is small, and our team is very small. And as our team is very small, we do that. We practice that. And thank you, sir, for your open-mindedness. And I have experienced that, how much you are open mind, having open mind, and having space for learning. And I have experienced that when you are the member of our board of studies here. And even I have experienced that when we both were in the board of studies for Fakir Mohon University. And I'm grateful to you, sir, for your support and encouragement. And I wish you good health, and hope we'll meet again and again. Thank you a lot, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would also like to add in a word that when sir had come physically, so sir had told me one thing. He just told me that be a good teacher. I always remember that. And I think excellence is 99% inspiration and 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And sir is a great inspiration for us youngsters.
Thank you very much. I will, as long as I am alive, I will keep inspiring you all.
Thank you so much, sir. You should. I'm wishing you good health and a very long life, sir.
Thank you.